expecting one more person. We are in a conference room, and we're expecting our VP of Instruction, Ryan Ruda. He's going to join us momentarily, I'm sure.
Oh, good.
But we have Deb Nicholson, and Deb's going to. I mean, you can explain your role with this better than I can. Deb's real involved with all the financials.
Yeah, I'm the comptroller for the college, and so review all of the grant financial data.
Oh, very good. My name is Laura Leite. I'm a Senior Associate Director of Career Technical Education here at KBOR. And so I primarily work with Perkins and then all other small grants that come out of that.
This is Tobias Wood, Associate Director of Career Technical Education, and I'm the Garden City Liaison for the Perkins grant.
Great.
I'm Melody Brooks. I'm Chuck's assistant, and I'll be assisting. Assisting with some of. I'm not even sure what my role is.
We don't know for sure, but undoubtedly she will be involved. And right now you're the go-to person for faculty when they come in and they want to request something for Perkins, and they're bringing evidence of receipts and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, that's always good because the person keeping track and keeping the faculty on track is key to this grant.
Yeah. Tobias and I just connected about 30 minutes ago just to make sure that I had the evidence that we need. But what I have right now is I have our final report from 2016 just to use as a guide. And then for 17, we have everything from the handbook to the application to all the budget and reporting. And then we also have our FY18 application, I guess, or the approved. I guess by now it's not just an application. By now it's the approved grant, then, right?
Right. Yep. It's your working grant. So
that's what we have. We have 4 rather large notebooks. So if you want to refer to something, and we at least have an idea of, at least Melody and I do, and I know Ryan does as well, all the different appendices, ILM, PQRS. I don't know how far out it goes, but
all the way to Z.
yeah.
On some of those.
What we'll do today is I just put together a PowerPoint for the final report because I know that's what you're trying to get done first. And we'll just kind of walk through it. Do we have everybody there now, or?
Ryan's not here. Would you mind? Maybe we just give him just a couple of minutes.
Sure, we can. And I'll just go ahead. Today we'll just go through what you'll need for the final report, and then we can always do another one of these on how to do revisions and work with the grant. Or you can come in to the office if you're here for the TEA meeting later this month.
Yeah, I think I'm going to come in next week. Isn't there something like on next Thursday?
Yeah, the TEA meeting.
Okay, right. I think when we talked with Connie, remember, I think I might come in on Wednesday and maybe come up and see you guys Wednesday afternoon or something before the TEA meeting.
Oh, that would be perfect. So
okay.
I guess just set a time with Tobias, and you guys can. I'll be there if you need me.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You said that's Wednesday, Chuck?
Yeah, because I think the TEA meeting's on Thursday. Is that right?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, usually.
I'm checking my calendar.
Okay.
I don't have it on there yet.
Yeah, I don't have it on there either.
I think it is. I heard people talking about it. So
it'll be the 23rd.
I think, yeah, because I think the TEA meeting, is the 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too. I just haven't. We've been running, I think, constantly.
Yeah, so Chuck, you'll this might make you feel more comfortable or less comfortable, but I've just started my portion of this, the Perkins liaisonship. I started this in early July, and I was in the office a total of 5 days in July because I had some other training to go to, and so I've been doing this a little bit longer than you have. So, but I'm picking things up, and Laura's been great about if I have questions, she is great to answer them. So, just know that you have a friendly ear if you're still struggling with any of this.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate that. I just texted with Ryan. He said he'll be here in just a couple of minutes. He was in a meeting over in the dorms and headed this way.
Okay. And you can still see us because I just had a message pop up, so I thought maybe it might have cut you off. Can you still see the?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I can still see the Skype business stuff. So.
All right. I'll close it back out because sometimes I like to do these on my on my work computer because I have two screens I can split it, but we're in a conference room, we can't split it, so it's one or the other. There we go.
Okay. So so you were going to mention maybe some of the things that we do need. From what I explained, are we good? We have everything we need?
I think so.
I think so.
And then just as you have questions, as we walk, we're just going to walk through the documents, and then as you have questions, holler at us, or you may not know what to ask yet.
Yeah.
So we can always have this as an overview, and then, follow up next week or whatever we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Or you can even you shoot me emails in between. I prefer emails over phone calls only because I can help track my progress. It helps me keep more organized if I've got something in writing that I can track.
Okay. Very good.
Yep. Tobe's been learning fast, and he's going to really learn them fast after Friday when he gets everybody's reports in.
Yeah.
Before I came here, I was a Perkins coordinator at a technical college, so I kind of know what it's like on both sides. So.
And Chuck, did we talk about a time for you, a date for you to have this final report put together?
We have not. I thought maybe, depending on how the next hour goes, we can probably, the great thing is really that we do have all this documentation, and he's been submitting the, what do you call it, not quarterly reports, but just the interim reports, so we feel like we're most of the way there. Deb has already done an excellent job of collecting all the financial information that we need, so it probably comes down to just some of the narrative to get what we need for you and also to be passed along, and then we can kind of reset and say, okay, this is how it should go from the beginning of the cycle. It's kind of odd that we're jumping in right at the very end, but
yeah. So
but that's okay.
I think that if depending on how you guys feel from your end, we've got a date in mind, and if you guys have a different date in mind, we'll certainly talk about it to see what we can do. We certainly don't want to rush you. We want to make sure completeness is more important than timeliness at this point. So we just want to make sure it gets done correctly and that you feel comfortable with it without trying to give you guys undue stress, trying to slam it together.
Okay, very good. Very good.
The main thing is, on the financial side, that you have spent all the money, correct?
Yes.
Did I hear yes?
Yes, we have.
Okay. That's one thing that on the timelines, if people haven't spent all the money, we have to get the money back from you within a certain amount of time. So.
Yeah, we had it spent by 10:30.
Good. And have you seen the conference information that we have out for October?
Yes. 4th and 5th?
Yes. That should be helpful too.
And I just sent I sent my OCR stuff.
And
we're going to make sure we may have as many as 3 people there. Our Adult Learning Center director has sometimes gone because there is an adult education component on that day as well, right?
yes, there is. Yeah, we combined because we're combined now.
Yeah. So he will be there, and we will send at least one faculty member, and then maybe myself. As luck would have it, it also coincides with an HLC obligation that we have. But we'll definitely be represented. And like I said, I'm going to come up to the TEA meeting next week, and then I'm also going to be a part of the Perkins 101, and I've already been assigned a mentor. So I think we're okay there.
Good.
At least get started. Okay, Ryan has joined us, so I'll let him introduce himself in case he doesn't already know them.
Hi guys, Ryan Ruda, Vice President for Instruction and Student Services.
Thanks for coming, Ryan. My name's Laura Leahy. I'm Senior Associate Director of Career Technical Education.
And Tobias Wood, I'm the Perkins Liaison, Associate Director with Career Technical Education.
So
Great, I appreciate you guys' time.
yeah, thank you. We appreciate you guys wanting to do it right.
Absolutely.
We're just going to, I put together a PowerPoint, but what we're really going to do is just kind of walk through all the documents that are required for the final report, and then please stop us if you have questions, or we can always go back if you have questions. So this is a list of everything that is required to be turned in for your final report, and like I said, we're going to walk through each one of these individually. And you can find this list on the email that Tobe sent out earlier, and you can also find it in the handbook and various places online. Oops. Moving too fast. Okay, the first one is your Perkins Program Improvement Activity and Progress Report, or Appendix I. And this has the 9 different goals, and there, I believe there should have been activities in each goal. Some of them are funded by the grant, and some of them are funded by your local funding streams. But Perkins requires that there is some type of activity within each goal, whether or not it pays for it. So what, in your grant, it would have an activity, and then you would have turned in on December 1 where you were on that activity, March 1 where you were, even it could have been finished by then. And then the final outcome, like just say you needed to, somebody put in that they needed 4 engines for automotive or whatever, and then you could just put in the final outcome, just make sure that we know those engines were purchased and are utilized in the classroom. There's another document we'll look at later where you will actually put the most verbiage, because we'll be using that other document for our federal report. So really this one is just going through, you may send it out to, you may not know if this activity has been approved, but different faculty, whoever was in charge of the activity when the grant was written, is probably going to provide the best update for that. So like I said, that one will have, it'll have 9 goals in it, and the 10th goal that is also listed there would be your admin. And we didn't used to make you tell us what you were doing with the admin, but now you do have to do that. Do you have any questions on that?
You know, as we went through this the first time, the only question that Ryan and I really had was goal 10. As we were looking at it, I don't think either one of us were, it just keeps saying things like just administration, GCCC personnel continue to assist in the management of the grant. You know, what kind of activities are you looking for there? Is there evidence that you need? I mean, clearly it's just some sort of administrative fund, but I mean, what are we using there?
What this is, this fiscal year, the one that the final report you're doing now, the admin part doesn't require a lot of information. We started requiring with the fiscal year 18 grant that we just did the application, that you give us more information on what you're doing with the admin funds. We used to not ask at all what people were doing with the admin funds, and found out that we should have been keeping track of that a little better. So on this one, you just follow through on this year like you have been, and then on the 18 you need to provide more information. Does that make sense? A lot of goal 10 goes, you know, it's your indirect cost. It's you have up to 5% of the grant that we are required to allow you to use. Some people don't use it, and you don't have to have anything in admin, but some people they like to use it for whoever's managing the Perkins grant. Maybe they pay part of their salary through that. Sometimes it's just for indirect cost, things that support the function of the grant. And that is probably explained a little bit better in the handbook.
Okay. All right. The Sounds good.
Makes sense?
The other question I had on this report was the funding. The funding on each of these goals, does that have to be updated to actual, or does that stay at what the application was set at?
On this appendix, it can stay what the application was set at. We used to
Okay.
we used to make people update it, but then they were having to update that in 3 different places, and it can be kind of time sensitive. Some of them like to keep it updated. However, it works best for you tracking it. These documents are also for your use. As long as we get all the information we need out of them, you can change them slightly to work better for you. But at this time, on your final report, if you don't want to match the funding to the actual spending, you do not have to. You can leave it how it was for the original grant.
Okay.
On Appendix I. Okay? Do you have any other questions? Huh?
No, I think we're okay. And again, we have last year's to use an example. It looks like on the final outcomes box, you're just looking for 2 or 3 or 4 sentences.
Yeah, we used to ask for more information there, but we've added a narrative report that you're going to see coming up that we want you to give us the most information on. All right. So
Okay.
the next one is the final budget matrix, which is Appendix L. And this one has it has the 9 goals plus another column, but we took that out for the next year's report. You'll probably see because I don't know why that got added, but the funding needs to go in whatever goal it was originally in, unless it was changed in the revision, and then however it fits best under the budget items. So it makes a matrix. So last year's, you had under goal 4, you had about $55,000 worth of equipment. You would account for that in there. One place that it can change is if you have, like under 5, which is usually professional development, you had around $45,000, and then it's just under travel. Sometimes professional development is also it's salaries with people traveling, or it could be contracts, and that's where that would kind of split out, but it would stay within the goal. That makes sense on there?
Yeah, on the equipment, does that includes things less than 5,000? That includes the what we consider supplies, but it's equipment between 1,000 and 5,000, or 500 and 5,000. Does that go under the equipment, or does that go under resource and materials?
If to you it's a resource and material, it should be in resource and material. So it would stay in goal 4, which is use of technology, which isn't. A lot of people always think that has to be equipment. It does not. So, like the 55,000, if that was designated under goal 4, you could split whatever amount of that was for equipment into the equipment, and then whatever was materials, what you consider materials in your accounting, in there into the materials level. Mainly,
However we classify, it's how we need to.
right, how you
Listed on the
classify
report.
it in your accounting, which, we're assuming it ties back to the federal classification of that. But mainly when we're going to be looking at this for the final report, we're going to make sure that the goal spending is what you had in your application and matches back up to what any revisions that might have moved money within goals. So the goal spending should match on the matrix to the budgeted breakdown of expenses, which we haven't looked at, and they should always total up to the total that you received for the grant or you spent on the grant. I hope that's making sense to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And down at the bottom of this one, I don't know if, oh, I guess I don't have a, oh, there's my pointer. You can see the program income down towards the bottom of the budget matrix. And that one is, you'll have some pages later that we'll look at, but you need to, if you have automotive that you charge, I don't know if you have, if you charge people to come in and get their cars worked on, or if, like, if you have cosmetology, and I'm sorry, I don't off the top of my head know your programs, but if you have anything that you charge services for, oh, thanks, Job. If you have anything that you charge services for, you need to make sure that you haven't had program income. And so you show the income, you show the expenses. Usually most people could end up at a loss. If you do end up making more money than you lose in your Perkins programs, I will just ask for a screenshot or something of your system showing that those extra funds went into a Perkins approved program or CT somehow back into that. So that's where you would.
So that. Wow.
I'm going to add that.
Yeah, so that's applicable to all of our Perkins eligible programs?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't make more.
Okay. We do have cosmetology. We do have automotive. I know we don't charge anything right now for automotive, but yes, we do charge something for Cosmo, but I doubt we make any money at it.
No, we don't.
Yeah, you usually don't.
Okay.
And when you look at the sheet, it puts all of your programs in, so if you make money at one, you're probably going to lose money at another one anyway. So very few people have to worry about that. And even if you do, if you show that it went back into CT of some sort, you're okay. So does this one make sense?
I'm good with this.
Yes.
Yep, we're good.
Good. And one thing with the grant final reports, you can turn these in without the president's signature. That way we've gone through and made sure everything's okay before you have to go get your president's signature. That's kind of
Okay, that way
handy.
we don't have to back 3 times and while we're editing it.
Exactly, and then they're wondering, wow, why are you making so many mistakes?
Yeah. What if our president already knows? Are we good there?
Yeah. So, okay. Oops. No, it's not. Oh, thank you. All right, now the next one is the budgeted breakdown of expenses, which we kind of talked about. But this one, how it works, you have the first original budget, and that's what the grant was approved at for the budget. And so that kind of locks in. Once the grant is all signed by Connie and everybody, that one doesn't change after the application. Then if there were any revisions done between the original grant date and the first report of December 1st, those revisions are reflected in here in this next column. So and then so the same with the March one. So they kind of lock after that date. After that report's turned in, then we don't change those columns anymore. And then up until the end of the year, the 30th of June, any revisions done on that column are reflected there. And then your actual expenses are what you're going to be showing on this final column that says actual expenses. And so this, as long as we know you probably overspent in some and you're going to be using your own funds on some things, which that's the safest way to manage the grant. We don't need to know what's over the total grant amount. So this can be, you can even have like $100.50 or whatever. It doesn't have to be even numbers. When I first started, there were some places that were under that, they thought they had to have all even numbers and then make it work out. It doesn't. It can actually reflect it, but as long as you in the end you end up adding up to what your grant total is.
Okay.
So does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, you don't want us to report what we spent over because we overspent this year.
Right.
For
Yeah.
17.
Yeah, I don't need
We
to
just
know.
want it total. You just want the total to be our grant total.
Right. And
Right.
one reason I say that is sometimes, at the end of the year, it'll kind of flex a little bit between the goals unexpectedly, and that's okay as long as it's not over 5%. of the goal. Okay, we'll go on. Section B is also part of the budgeted breakdown of expenses, and a lot of times people forget this one, and so I always like to remind people. But it's nice to use to figure out. We'll look back here to see what you've spent on salaries and things, and it has some formulas in there that helps to show that you haven't gone over your percentage. You can only spend 50% of your grant on salaries, or only 50% on the equipment and 5% on admin, and that just shows it. And then the bottom of this section B will also have another place for signatures when we're ready for that. So this is just kind of a backup. All right, the professional development report, I actually did a screenshot of what you've turned in for this application, because some people look at this and think, well, that one's done. And this is from the application, and when they write the application, they have to turn in why this professional development is important to the grant. But then when you turn in the final report, you need to rewrite this to show what they actually learned in their professional development. You know, just a short, I mean, this same length. We don't need a ton of verbiage there, but just something to show that this that they followed through on the professional development and they did actually learn something, and that it is important to the grant. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're good there.
Okay, good. Okay, and this is the last year you'll see this one, but on your application for FY17, everybody filled out institutional goals, and they picked, I think they picked like 3, I don't remember how many, and this one just shows the outcomes of those goals. So you would just have to look back and see what you did on Appendix O. What is that appendix for?
I don't know.
So you would just look back. You didn't have to do it for your FY18 because we started doing this thinking that Perkins was going to be reauthorized sometime soon, and it keeps stalling out. So federally, we're getting the funds, but they're hoping to rewrite the grant, and it hasn't happened yet. I guess the federal senators and the House keeps passing it, but not the Senate. But anyway, you just you look at the goals that you put in for last year, and then you just write the actual outcome and anything positive or negative that affected it.
Okay.
And then the next one is Appendix P, which is your final expenditure report for anything less than $5,000, and that could be your supplies. Basically, we started doing this so that people would know that they need to be tracking highly walkable items, and items, even if they don't require a keyboard tag, you should know where they are and be tracking them internally. So this helps us to know that you're aware of that. And the institution's property ID number would be whatever number you have assigned to it in your tracking system. If you haven't assigned a tracking number, a serial number off of the equipment or something like that. Again, a lot of these just came about to help everybody be more aware of what's required under the federal regulations. The next one's anything over $5,000, so that would be your larger equipment, anything that you spent $5,000 on, and hopefully you've had a KBOR issued tag number. This helps us to know. Yeah, and Tobe checked, and you guys did get all your equipment tags, so I think you guys are all good on those. And this just helps us to know whether or not you've been tracking your equipment and ask for the tags. Actually, we've had a lot of people, this helps them to remember that they should be asking for tags because they go to fill this out and realize they haven't. So. And do you know where all your tags are and your tag numbers? If not, we could probably resend you the list so you'd have.
Melody raised her hand. She says she does because a couple of us might have had a blank stare on our
Okay. Yeah, we can't.
So one thing I know about her.
Well, yeah, and tags fall off. We know that, and we just thought, well, I know how when change of personnel, somebody may have set it on their desk somewhere, and it doesn't get on the equipment or whatever. So don't hesitate. We're not gonna be mad at you. Just let us know. We'll try to help you out.
You said on Appendix P, excuse me, anything that was less than 5,000, we can just use our own tags?
Yes,
Is that right?
you can. Yeah, you can. And we just want to make sure, part of the federal stipulation is that you are tracking it and you know where it is, especially highly walkable items, computers and things like that. Because now anything electronic is a supply, so. But all of these these columns here, I took that right out of the federal regulations of what they want you to know and track on your equipment. They expect you. When I was at my previous place, I had a Department of Labor grant. And, well, you guys did too, Track 7, right? But we got the federal visit, and they walked in and wanted to know where my equipment was.
Okay, well, good.
So, the final narrative report, this is only the second year that we've done this. And we tried to tie it back to the goals to help you guys know. But the more information on this, the better. This is what we take it word for word and turn it into our federal report in December. So when everybody turns this in, we do request that this document be in Word. The rest of them can be PDFs. But we want this one in Word so we can copy and paste. And before we started doing this, I was at somewhere where the federal, our federal liaison was talking about all the great things other states were doing, and I knew we were doing it, but they didn't know about it because we were trying to decipher things from the grant and not getting all the information in. So this is your chance to be known on the federal level. And again, this is just a sample. There's several. It's a page long, and it's a Word document, so make it as long as you want. Does that one make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and if you have any questions, just holler at us.
Okay.
Okay, Appendix F is the program income report that we talked about. So the first part of it, when you're looking at the document, is income, and the section B below this will be the expenses. And most people come out probably negative because CTE is so expensive. So that document's in there. And all of these, if you don't have the documents, they're all online. We'll show you where after we end this. You'll be asked to include an articulation agreement list for all the articulations you have with secondary schools. And this form is provided. Now it's an Excel sheet, and if you don't have it, we can we'll show you where it is. And we can email you these too, even if you can download them off the internet, or we can email them to you. But you just put the high school and the program. What's your institutional program? What degree? Articulation type. I get a question on that one a lot. It's like memorandum of agreement. Just whatever you label the articulation, whatever type of agreement it is. And we're not going to look at it and go, okay, that's not the type we're looking for. And then just when the agreement begins and where it ends.
Does someone have a question?
No? Okay.
Just clarification on a couple things. Going back to your previous appendix there with the program income.
Yes.
So, like with our cosmetology, we would go through and denote what the program's income, what's been generated from the program. Mm-hmm. Our question is if it hasn't, we've changed some fee structures and things around there. So, is it going to? Well, we haven't reported in the past, or we haven't reported things because we've changed our fee structure around there a little bit. There, is it going to throw any flags up there when income hasn't been reported for the previous 2 fiscal years?
No. I don't. You mean like with us?
Right. Yeah. I mean, just because we're going to be reporting this there because of how we've started generating things with cosmetology, but it hasn't been reported in the previous 2 years' fiscal reports.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't go back if somebody reports and look back at the last few years, and especially, I mean, if we asked you and you said, because I've had people say, well, we don't have any income, and so they don't fill out the sheet. But what we really want you to show the income and expenses so you can see if even though you've had income that you've had more expenses than the income. But I would say if anybody asked, we would just have an email stating that in the past, that there have been changes in how you do the fees and there hasn't been an income.
And Ryan, I don't know if you were in the room when we were talking about this, but if one program does generate income and other programs have a net loss, you're probably going to end up with an overall loss. And the purpose of this appendix is simply to show that if there is an overall profit, that it gets put back into Perkins eligible programs. That's the main goal, in my view, of this appendix.
Yeah, and that's a federal requirement. Is why we asked that. One reason they want us to keep track of this is they don't want to have federal money paying for the equipment that puts you in competition with somebody out there trying to make a living. And so the other part of this is I always like to remind people, if you do have something that you charge fees for, that you make sure that the customer knows that there needs to be somewhere denoting, there might be a plaque on the wall or something the customer signs saying that these services were not provided by a professional. And that's something to, for your own coverage if for some reason the feds would look at it.
Right.
So if we're looking at the cosmetology program and the income from that, we're really just talking about the services provided in the cosmetology department, not tuition fees, that sort of thing. And we're not talking about instructional salaries as expenses. We're just talking about the expenses that just are in that auxiliary fund to run the cosmetology program, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't need to know what you're charging the students or anything. No, it's just fees for if somebody comes in to get a manicure, they pay $10 or whatever. That income.
And the expenses that are for that service.
Right.
The products that we buy for that or those sort of things. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And then if you would happen at the end, I mean, because if you look at this full sheet, you're going to have all of your programs in there and all of the expenses, and so most likely you will be a negative or a zero. But if you did happen to make more than your expenses for all the programs, then as long as you gave us a screenshot or something of those extra funds going back into CTE somehow, not I don't know what a general fund, but as long as it goes back into CTE and we have something showing it, then you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to pay it to us. We really don't want it. So, okay.
And then just stepping forward back then to the secondary articulations, again, what you were wanting is just copies of any of the MOUs or articulation agreements we have with our service area districts or
and we don't. Yeah, we don't need to see the agreement. We just need this, who it's with and the dates. Yeah, we just need it listed. We don't need to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
Perfect.
yeah. less paper. Then on the on the post-secondary, this is the tracking sheet that we sent out. But then earlier this year, we had academic affairs asked all of you guys for post-secondary articulation agreements. And so I had one of our schools contact us and say, really, do we have to do this again? And I looked at what you guys were turning into academic affairs, and that document that you turned into them will work for us. Just send it to us again so that we have it in our file. So you don't have to do that again. Just send us the same one. And we know it won't look exactly like this, but it's pretty close. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know exactly.
Okay, good. Yeah, I thought, oh man, everybody's going to hate me if I make them do it again. Yeah, just turn that one in. All right, and so another requirement is all the Perkins approved programs must have 2 advisory board meetings every year during the grant year. So we just need a list of those meeting dates. And again, there's a form. I'll show you where all these forms are if you want to use them for tracking. It makes it easier, especially for us when we're looking at 20 grants, to look at it pretty quickly. And then one reason that this column says minutes attached is we have to have 1 set of minutes from each program. So we need to know the 2 dates of the advisory board meetings, but have 1 set of minutes per program.
And Chuck, that document is usually fairly large, so that might need to be broken up into its own set, and maybe its own email. So as you're sending these to me electronically, it's possible that all of the other appendices could fit into one email, but these might not fit and might not send. So you might preempt that just by separating the minutes into a separate message to me.
Okay, that sounds good.
This is just this next one, Appendix W. We do have a sample of what we'd like the minutes to look like. I know not of them, they don't have to look like this, and we know they're not always going to. But what we would really like is to be able to look quickly at the minutes and see what program they are. We don't want to have to read the minutes and try to figure out what program these were for. So if you can put that at the top, which Perkins approved program these advisory minutes are for, that makes our life a lot easier. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Time and effort. I don't remember if you had anybody. We don't think you had anybody being paid with Perkins funds, but there's 2 different time and efforts if you ever do that in the future. And this time and effort is if you have a person if you're getting paid a little bit if we're paying part of your salary for working on Perkins, but we know you do other things, you would fill out this one. It's people who work on more than one cost objective fill out this time and effort, and thankfully you can just do it by percentage. The other time and effort is if you would happen to use Perkins funds to hire faculty or hire a new faculty to expand a program. They could just do the semi-annual certification because really they're working only on one cost objective. So, and that, again, a lot of this stuff is in the handbook. Hopefully the handbook is online and we keep the most updated one there. So hopefully that's helpful to you on any of these questions. The quality assurance rubric, this isn't anything that you fill out, but these are things that we track. And again, there's more information about this in the handbook because you'll probably hear people talk about it. But, I mean, you have an extension, but if anybody else is late on their Perkins grant, they'll earn points. This is, with the rubric, you don't want points. So,
Wow.
But then we give points for new personnel, but then you can see clear to the right. If you attend training or have one-on-one technical assistance, we subtract points. So. Yeah.
Well, how about my meeting when I come up and take you guys to lunch next Wednesday? How many points do we get for that?
There we go.
Negative 10.
Negative 10.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no points. You have no points now. So this is just what we do is with this we determine on who might need a little extra technical assistance, and we usually, that just is, sometimes it's a fiscal review, sometimes it's a program review. It's a little bit more deeper dive into what you guys are doing, and then from that, if there's anything else needed. So I just
Can
wanted
you just real quickly going through those columns? Clearly, not spending all the money we get. Failure to meet core indicators. Which
Is that the 10 goals, or is that the three? Is that the three outline?
those are something your president probably sees that document more than you guys, but and we'll explain them in some of the things. But the core indicators aren't part of the grant. What they are, there's 5P1, 5P2, 5P3, 5P4, 5P5, and they are determined by your data. So the data that you enter, then we calculate it, and that determines whether you meet the core indicators. And those are always explained. Those are also explained in your handbook. And part of it, you've heard people, it's non-traditional participation, non-traditional completion, it's degree completion, things, and certificate attainment. You've probably heard the school talking about that. But I can't remember.
So it's not necessarily anything that we can do necessarily, like to guide an activity towards that. It's just something that will be taken from our data.
It's taken from your data. It's nice to see. Now, if you're looking through the grant, and once you get to know the grant a little better, you'll see that there's activities in the grant that you can put funding in to help meet the core indicators, because it all ties in together. So the 10 goals tie into the meeting the core indicators. And the core indicators are something we also have to negotiate. The state negotiates with the feds, and then we negotiate with your presidents on what you're going to meet. And then if you don't meet them, there's different things you can do. And actually, we have a lot of people that have trouble meeting the non-traditional enrollment and completion, and we're going to be rolling out a grant this fall to help with that, and some people will be required to participate in that grant.
So which state report there does this data derive from then? Is that from KHEADS or the KSPSD?
KEDS, yeah. We would get it from our KEDS data. And if you log into KEDS, and you can see a report on your core indicators and how you're doing, or we can resend that to you. What we do is every year, probably about March, we send out to our Perkins coordinators where they are on their core indicators, because if you don't meet some of your core indicators, you have to write a plan on how you're going to meet them. And so the coordinators need to know that that's part of their grant application. And I don't remember what Garden did. If they hadn't, I think they don't come up to my.
I think we met all of ours except for I think there was two that we didn't.
Maybe the non-trad. Yeah,
I believe.
You believe so?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I know last year we met the non-trad last year. I know. I think it was the skill attainment, the technical skill attainment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
maybe retention.
Yeah, and that's a hard one. The non-traditional. There's the retention one too. I'd have to look at we can resend that to you if you want to see your history on that. But you can also log into KEDS and look at that too, and we could show you how to do.
If you could send that would be great. That'd be great.
Okay.
So the goals for these, so when they have these percentages, those goals are just set by you then, right? It's not like we picked, hey, this is a stretch goal, like our performance agreements. We get to establish that, and there's a little bit of negotiation, but this appears to be set by you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what Connie does. Is we wait until we get our federal, and we get our goals set by the feds, and then she sets them by the institution and sends them out to your president, and your president can negotiate it from there. And so you can negotiate to have it lowered. I don't think anybody's going to want it raised. But
yeah, we're not working hard enough. I'd really like it to be higher.
yeah. So,
okay, that makes sense.
yeah, and
Thank you.
like this year, we tried to get Connie tried to negotiate our non-traditional numbers lower with the feds, but they wouldn't let us. So we tried. Any other questions on those? Huh?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. This just lists out some of the things that are online, and actually, let's see. There's the handbook, and we try to keep it updated. Your Perkins, if you have Perkins ID tags on equipment and you want to dispose of it, just contact us. But there's also a disposal form here. We keep a calendar of important dates. Advisory board handbook, if you need it, that's out there. The gender non-traditional careers. Sometimes if you ever want marketing money through your Perkins grant, you can, well, it's not, outreach money, but you can use it for promoting like girls in welding or men in nursing. It has to be a non-traditional career, and that lists that out so you can look at it. Our final report from Octay, which was good, thankfully.
Or you just request it through.
Yeah, online.
Laura, we were interested in trying to apply for some, funding to do that. Is that we just do it right through this, or is it like a separate grant activity?
You do it.
A whole another grant?
No, you do it through your Perkins grant, and you can do a revision if you decide you want to do that, and there's somewhere else in the grant that you're not going to spend the money. You can do a revision on your grant, and with the outreach materials, we just have to approve, like once you get the draft done, send them to us to approve them before you print like 100 of them, because it's surprising how people will think, well, that looks like non-traditional, but I can't tell if it's a man or a woman in the. Usually what they do is this, if you want to promote welding, you have you have girls welding, you have girls with long hair, which my daughter points out, well, anybody can have long hair, but we just do the best we can with it. And actually, I just did a RFP for the Manufacturing Day grant, which is just a small $1,000 grant, but a lot of people will use that to do outreach about their Manufacturing Day at their institution, and they'll do it non-traditional so they can spend that $1,000 for outreach to bring people on to campus for the Manufacturing Day. So if you ever want ideas on that one, that works pretty well for that $1,000 too.
Okay. Yeah, we just received that today in our email inbox. I glanced through that real quick. So yeah, we may apply for that. That'd be great to use it for that. Actually. Yeah.
Because Perkins, you can't use it for food. There's a lot of different requirements, but I think outreach is a pretty good idea for that. This is, again, what's online for the grant. This lists out all the different documents. When you go online and you see, like, application packet, any appendix that's a Word document is in the packet, and then anything that's in Excel is outside. So if you're looking for an appendix and you don't see it listed here, it's within that packet.
Okay. Very good.
Here's all of our information, and then I'm going to go online real quick so you can see it. I just wanted to show you, because if you go onto the Board of Regents, you go to Workforce Development, Perkins Grants. Here it is, all right here, there's all the information, there's the leadership grants are there. Pretty soon you'll see the manufacturing grant. I'm going to put that in for them to put on.